Hi, this is John with John on Tech. We are going to show how to debug in PyCharm in this video. And PyCharm is a fantastic tool for Python development. It has everything built into it right out of the box. So you got all you need just starting out. Very little configuration needed. And let's dive in and look at the debugger. This project, this is the Python recipes project, and has two files in it right now. Two classes, small project. I have a test property file service, and I have a property file service. So the test property file service naturally tests the property file service. In addition, I have a test properties file. So the test properties file have two sections. In Python, most often properties files are divided into sections. So I got a database connection section and I got a file transfer section. Within those two sections, I got properties. So very simple property file, and we are going to show how to debug this. So we're going to make a small change so that our program will fail, so that we can find a use for the debugger. I want to change the property value here, the key for the property, to just database user. So that's going to be wrong. So we'll see how that fails. Let's go to the test property service file. And in here, I have a couple of tests. Test read database user ID and test database password. So we are interested in the database user ID. All right, so this is a unit test in Python. So there is a separate video that I'll record for that, for testing with unit tests. But for now, we will focus on the debugging capability. So let's run this test and see that it fails. Just want to run it here. And yep, it failed because it says that there is no database user ID. All right, so now let's go and set some breakpoints and try to figure out what the problem is. So we are pretending that we don't know what the problem is. Okay, so this is the method that we are going to focus on. So let's set our property, breakpoint right there. Let's right mouse click on it. So this is how we use the debugger. We first set breakpoint and then we run whatever piece of code we want to run so that we can get to the execution stop at the breakpoint. So this is the unit test. This is the breakpoint. Now I can run this unit test by right mouse click, run unit test. So when we run it, it is not going to debug. So in order to debug, we actually have to choose the debug unit test. So now when we're debugging, we see that it stops on the breakpoint. We can view what breakpoints we have set by going to the run menu and view breakpoints. So here we see, we got one breakpoint set there, and that's right in this area. You can set many breakpoints if you like. All right, we have one breakpoint set. Now, going from here, there is a variety of different tools to our disposal. So we can step over this function, this method call. So we're going to be calling the read method on this object, and this object is instantiated up here. So we're going to be calling and the instance variable for the classes here. So we're going to be calling the read method on this class. And so if we step over, then we are done with the whole program execution. That's not really going to buy us anything. So we want to step into this method to see what's going on in there. All right, so down here, we have all our debugging tools. So we can step over, but since we want to step into, we'll choose these two. Now we stepped into that property method. And here, we read the read method in the property file service. We are at the first line of execution in that method because we just stepped into that. Okay, so now we first thing for us, we need to get a property configuration and see that this property configuration will get from this method. Okay, so let's not focus on the content of this method at this point, but rather try to find what the problem is. So we'll assume that the problem is not here. So we'll just step over there. Okay, fine. Yeah, we were able to get a configuration object. All right, so now the question is it going to execute this method okay? Or is that where the problem is? So now I'm stepping one more time. And now we see that it kind of made something funky happening. It stepped right out of there. So what's going on? So let me now continue execution. See, now it is going out into this area where it's totally unexpected. So clearly something went wrong. So I can resume execution by clicking here, resume program, and then I see, and then I can go over to console. So here's the toggle, debugger or console, debugger or console. Go to console. Here's my error message. Okay, so I was correct. It actually had a problem right at that point. All right, so let's go back. Let's close these files here, and let's go and try again. All right, I will debug here. Debug. Stopping here. Now I'll use the control key, F7, and stepping in. Okay, now get configuration. So I know this is a problem. So, sorry, this actually works. So I step over here, but I know this is a problem. So now let me see what's going on here. I can examine these variables to see what's going on. So what am I looking for? I'm looking for a property called database user ID. Okay. And what section am I looking in? Database connection. Okay. All right. So that is what I'm going to be looking for in my property file. So now I'm going to my property. Double click on that. Okay. So I see my problem right away. Of course, we set it up, so it had a problem, so we know. But we can see it right here, database user, and that is not correct because if we go back in the debugger and examine that variable, you see it should be database user ID. And even more helpful, so two ways to examine variables. Hover over them, very simple. That'll give you a quick look at the variable content, like this, or go down into the debugger console, debugger. So here we see all the variables. So we can expand on these. If there's more stuff, we can drill down. And if we have a large application, there will be lots of stuff in here. Our case is pretty small, but we see the essentials. We have the property, and we will have the property section file, section name. Okay, we know what the problem is now. So the property is supposed to be database user ID, but in the properties file, we got just database user. Okay, so let's fix it. Okay, at this point, I'm just going to bail out of the debugger because I know what the problem is. I don't need to debug anymore. I just stop. Now I can change it. User ID. All right, cool. So now I can go back in And here's another shortcut. There's lots of shortcuts in PyCharm. That's another really nice thing. You can pretty much do everything just with shortcut keys. I can do Control E and Control Editor, and then it will come up with a list of the files that I've recently visited. I can go back to my test class, my test method. Okay. Now I can just run this. I know what the problem is, so I can run to see if it works. Run it. Oh, sure enough, looks good. It's green down here, and it will say that one task passed. Okay, I am good. It worked. So that's a quick look at the PyCharm debugger, and we will look at more debugging feature in later video, but you can already see how powerful this is. You can set breakpoints, you can stop, you can resume execution, and you can examine variables. So very, very useful, especially for larger applications that are more complex. The debugger is a very, very helpful tool. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please subscribe and like, as this will help move this video up in the search list at YouTube. Thank you.